Mike Gallagher.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had the normal American reaction yesterday to the deportation of Tren De Aragua.
Tren De Aragua is now a designated foreign terrorist organization. And as I said, there were nearly 200 Tren De Aragua members who were sent to El Salvador this weekend. Countless lives will be saved because of this action. And if you talk to the families, the Angel families, as I mentioned, Blake and Riley and Jocelyn Nungray, they understand the grave cost of life at the hands of these illegal terrorists. And the president is proud to deliver on that promise for them.
How could you not understand the grave consequences of allowing a dangerous, violent terrorist group, Tren De Aragua, on American soil? But look, here's a Democrat. Let me give you a Democrat's perspective. Then we're going to take a caller who has some problems with the deportation of these vermin. Here's Jim Himes from Connecticut.
This is sort of classic Hollywood. That is going to last right up into the moment that it is discovered that some innocent person is now, being brutalized in a Salvadoran prison. When the blowback that inevitably comes when you completely ignore due process comes to roost in the form of stories of people being horribly abused, that's when the numbers are going to begin to change a little bit.
There you go. Anderson Cooper hosting a Tren De Aragua supporting Democrat on CNN last night. Democrats have supported Hamas quite publicly. It's amazing how Democrats are so lost in 2025 that they keep defending indefensible things. And I just wonder if there's any normal Democrats or independents around. I know, Doug, you and I have argued many times. You're back. You described yourself as an independent, not a Democrat. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So tell me what you think about people on TV like Jim Himes and Jessica Tarloff on Fox and others defending Tren De Aragua.
I want them exported as quickly as possible.
Well,
so,
you got your wish.
Well,
you got your wish.
It's about executive power and the rule of law, right? I mean, you wouldn't want a Democratic president coming in next and, banning internal combustion engines and, nationalizing private property.
Well,
right?
I would like a Democrat president. I'd love it if a Democrat president quickly and expeditiously deported violent gang members. I'd be all about that. I don't think I'd go on the air and say, gosh, I wish that Democrat would give more due process to a murderous, violent gang of terrorists. I mean, you understand, Doug, that, and I appreciate the debate about executive power, and that's going to be decided by the courts, and it's a worthy discussion. You have to understand the optics of what it sounds like. It sounds very clear that you're willing to defend a violent gang.
No, absolutely not. What I don't want is, I think the court was asking, for a 14-day pause? I think there's, you got to look at it. Are we at war?
The court?
Are we at war?
The court?
Excuse me.
The court?
Yeah.
You mean the Trump-hating judge? You know about this judge and his wife and his kid and stuff, right? You know who this guy is. You know the judge's role, the Obama-appointed judge. You know how he showed up during January 6th hearings? You think this guy is pure as the driven snow? He's got an agenda, Doug. The judge.
Well, that's why the Trump administration is appealing the ruling, right?
They have to. They have to.
Yeah.
They kicked it to the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit, a liberal court. I mean, it's all you guys got. It's all you have is our judges who are going to try to challenge Trump's constitutional executive authority. And again, that's okay. Let's have the debate. Let's let the Supreme Court decide it. I hope the Supreme Court gets it right. Then you guys will have to move on to something else. But you got to look at, I'm just asking you to open your eyes at the optics of it. People hear you, whether you want to admit it or not, defending a violent, terroristic, murderous group of people. We want them out. We want them gone. I mean, are you really sitting around wondering whether the tattoos that are accurately depicting Tren De Aragua? Is that your position, Doug?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Let me, while I got you on the line, what do you think of Elon?
Well, I think he's done a pretty good job with his businesses. He's made some bad moves on the ones that aren't taking federal funds, but yeah, he's made a lot of money off the government. I mean, yeah.
You guys can't help yourself. Hey, did you hear the astronauts are coming home? You glad that Elon sent SpaceX up there to get them back?
Hey, I think that Boeing Starship stuck the landing when it returned. It was an abundance of caution, and it was always the plan to have, since Boeing's not ready, it was always the plan to have SpaceX bring them back.
You're just not going to give credit.
Right about that.
You're just not going to give credit where credit is due, are you, Doug? I mean, I asked you what you think of Elon, and you had to get the MSNBC talking points in there about the government assistance he's gotten. Doug!
I don't watch MSNBC. I was listening to you, Mike.
Doug, you can do better than that. You can do better than that. But try again. You call regularly, and that's our resident independent, quote unquote. I don't think you'd describe Kyle Olson as being other than an exemplary investigative journalist, and I want to get his take. He's the founder and managing editor of the Midwesterner, which is an investigative news site based in Michigan. You'll want to hear what Kyle Olson has to say next. It has been suggested that President Trump has a superpower, the uncanny ability to take Democrats and put them in a really untenable position. In other words, they take the bait over and over and over again. To a lot of normal Americans, it's shocking that the Democrats are siding with violent, murderous thugs called Tren De Aragua. This is one of the most astonishing reactions from a political party I think I've ever seen. Because normal Americans, and I think a lot about that phrase. I've been thinking about that lately. Years ago, Kurt Schlichter wrote an article that really resonated with me about the normals and how everything right now, and I think this is more true than ever. In fact, we ought to get Kurt Schlichter from townhall.com back on the show and revisit that column he wrote years ago. This was not a recent column. But he said, look, America right now comes down to normals versus the wild-eyed crazies. And think about what's going on right now. People who are worried about their personal safety, worried about their possessions, their cars being keyed or damaged or firebombed because of Elon Musk. People who are glad that violent, dangerous, alien gang members, and I mean alien in the sense of not legal citizens, not citizens at all, have been kicked out of the country, and the Democrat Party is screaming about their lack of due process. Consider that for just a moment. I mean, it's astonishing to me. Here was Scott Jennings last night on CNN, cut number 8, talking about the mandate that Trump has been given. Trump, in kicking out violent, dangerous gang members who have wreaked such havoc on the American people, Trump is doing exactly what he said he would do.
I don't think anybody disagrees about their ability to deport people who are murderers or rapists or whatever, but don't they have to actually prove that those people are who they say they are and that they've carried out those acts of those criminal acts?
Well, we know they're violent people because...
How do we know?
Because their records have already been pulled. I mean, these people were violent.
I think that the court,
from where they came from, and now they're here illegally. So
one of the things that happened in court
who they are.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Have they even given us their identity?
In the court today is that the lawyers for the government couldn't say really who these people were.
And interesting enough, what they tried to use is they said, "Oh, we're looking at some of their tattoos, which means they have a gang affiliation, so they can be deported." It's a slippery slope that we don't want to open up.
But they're illegal
immigrants,
immigrants,
that's why we have a process for everything.
But they're illegal immigrants, yes?
So well, actually, again,
we don't know
that.
The state of affairs. They're saying they're bad people so they can get out of here.
It would be fine if we knew that, but we don't.
The quotas is all fun until the rabbit has the gun, right? What if somebody turns that on one of us or anybody
we're citizens.
else?
They're not citizens.
But there's people who are here.
The state of affairs in America is one that citizens are being stopped and questioned. I met with a U.S. citizen who was stopped at a subway station, questioned by ICE, detained for 3 hours. This is the state of affairs in America. So it's not necessarily about who's on that plane who may have a criminal record. We don't know their names, their first names and last name. but it is really about those that are not on the plane that could find themselves one day on a plane.
You all are conflating different groups of people. U.S. citizens are different than non-citizens, and people here under certain status are much different than people who came here illegally, particularly if you came here illegally and you were violent where you came from. And I think the Trump administration, frankly, has a political and maybe even a legal mandate to exit from the country violent, illegal aliens who are in this country.
Listen to them all screaming at him. That's Scott Jennings. I don't know how he does it night after night on CNN. They once in a while let him get a complete sentence or even a paragraph in, but for the most part, they yell at him. It's like a Christian surrounded by the lions in the Colosseum. But again, consider this. You've got people vociferously defending Tren De Aragua. Imagine the family of Jocelyn Nungare. Imagine what the family of that beautiful little girl who was brutally slaughtered by these gang members, imagine how they must receive that kind of defense by the Democrat Party. Kurt Schlichter is right. I mean, the Democrats are more often than not on the side of anything but the normals. And it's the normal American who is going to sustain this country and continue to vote for common sense. Welcome in a busy Tuesday in the Relief Factor studios. It's the Mike Gallagher Show. Our number is 800-655-MIKE.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.